I don't know. Obviously, this issue existed before the pandemic, but I think that I've felt, and maybe I'm just more sensitive to it, but especially when we come out of the pandemic and we start returning to these spaces, like you said, we start living in. It feels like some of these issues are kind of like heightened, right? Like, and I struggle myself to realize or to know, is it because I am more sensitive to this issue, or because we are all kind of like a little too used to being in our own space? And obviously that is, I feel like, the general thesis of your podcast as a whole. Like, we're so wrapped up in our own little individual bubbles in our worlds that this becomes a big issue to others.
Yeah, and it goes down to with the recent trend now too, and this has come up, I think, mostly from the pandemic. Although again, it did exist before the pandemic as well. But now the assigned seats in movie theaters. Now it's like when you go and buy a ticket, you're not buying a ticket to the show. You're buying this seat. You get to choose your seat, and you get to sit down and enjoy this movie. And so
I know that you probably have a theater and a seat, and you look for that seat to be free. And if it's not, you think real hard about, do I want to change seats, or do I want to just change my time?
It is very true. Maybe not since the pandemic, because now, when we go to the movies, it's like, oh, we kind of have, because we're a little bit more selective in when we go see the movies. And so it's a little bit more open, but definitely before the seat chosen, when my wife and I were living in Arizona, there was a particular theater. It's still one of my all-time best theaters, called the Santa Capri down in the Tempe, Arizona. I think I took you there and went to go see Man of Steel. And that was before assigned seats, and there were 2 golden seats in that theater that not only did you get the railing in front of you, but you get you're in the dead center of the theater. You get the best sound, the best visuals. There's nobody in your way. You get to put your feet up, all these sort of things. And it was always, let's line up 2 hours before this movie. Let's get first in line, because it's a mad dash of those 2 seats. So nowadays with the assigned seats, you get to choose. And so now that I get to choose, we try to get as close as we can to the start time, because I don't want to sit next to or around people with that thought in mind that they might access their cell phone. They might be a disruption to my movie experience. So you're right. That's more of where we're at when we go to the movie theater. It's not so much of, oh, they took our preferred seats. It's more of like, oh, man, in this 200-seat theater, 50 people have already bought tickets. There's not really enough of a buffer for me to sit down and enjoy the show. So, and it's so ridiculous, because people do the math. That's 25% capacity. There's plenty of buffer there, but that's our mindset now, because it's gotten to this point where people can't take a break from their cell phones apparently for 2 hours. And it's really sad to me, because again, that's the whole point in going to the movies. Because just like now, and just like I said at the top of the show, I can be patient. I can watch these movies at home. I have a beautiful surround sound system. I have a 4K HDR, big screen TV in my living room with that surround sound system. I can get a really good movie experience in my house. But that's not why I'm leaving and paying the big bucks. I'm leaving for a different experience, a larger screen, more speakers, more immersive, and I don't want to be pulled out of that when I'm paying my good hard-earned money.
So that experience actually is embedded in your ticket sale, right? Like, it's more than seeing the movie on a big screen, but the act of, you're going to the theater, you're out, you are like, you want a seat, or you want this certain type of experience, yes, but like the sound, the picture, that's all embedded in other things. There's sights, there's smells, there's touch, right? Like there's so much that's involved in going to these theaters. And especially, I also want to acknowledge, I think, like, especially knowing you and your wife, like how important movies are to the two of you in your own relationship. Like, those things are memories. Those things are things that matter to you.
Yep.
And so, so when you spend your money, all of the little tiny things that might take you out of that experience probably feel really big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, you've nailed it on the head. I mean, so many of our fondest memories are these movie theater experiences, mainly because we don't have to look at each other and just be silent around each other.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, that makes sense. Does Brooke listen to this? She doesn't, so I can say whatever I want.